All right, and welcome to our next academic session for Soiree 2024. For this session, our host is Miho Akoi. Akoi, I am terrible at pronouncing names, and with a name like this,
Aoki.
Christian, I should be better at it. Aoki?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Wonderful. Um, our first presenter is Melody Lee, and her presentation is a fast forward video. So I'm going to bring that up and make sure that my sharing is optimized for video and sound. And with that on, I will go ahead and play Melody's presentation.
This is an example of student and teacher partnership in third and fourth year work integrated learning course. Student partners became designers, curators, producers to co-design the media art students exhibition and transform the campus into an exhibition site. This is also an opportunity to empower student partners to come up with design solutions to solve the problem for the community, such as during the COVID isolation, and to practice their soft skills and hard skills in this professional project. We came up with this 360 gallery idea to also build an online immersive experience, the Media Arts Showcase, that was co-designed with student partners, brought the industries and the wider community together on the day to celebrate students' achievement and to share their stories.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. And so, Miho, I think this brings up Judy and her presentation. Judy, are you good with screen sharing?
I think so. I'll give it a shot. Let's see.
It's working.
Okay,
Wonderful. All right, I will step aside.
okay. Um, okay. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. So I thought I'd start off first with just a brief introduction, very brief introduction. Um, so yes, I became chair of the animation and visual effects department at Woodbury University right at the beginning of the COVID lockdown. So what that meant was, while simultaneously learning how to teach online, I was also sort of stumbling my way through onerous Excel schedule change forms, hiring and managing 13 adjunct faculty, and bringing our outdated curricula up to current industry standards. As 40% of my students are registered with the Office of Disability and Accessibility Services, or as we call it here, ODAS, I continue to wrestle with how to best support our large neurodiverse student population while simultaneously meeting our learning outcomes and keeping the program moving forward. We are a very small school with very limited resources, and unfortunately, our nascent TA program has run out of money. Autism, as I've learned, is largely a condition of anxiety. The amount of anxiety I see presenting in my classes has shot through the roof. So, on the first day of class, what I do is I go around the room and I ask, who's feeling anxious about taking this class? And in particular, this class is Intro to 3D. So they have no previous experience with this. And what I've noticed over the years, I mean, even before COVID, what I've noticed over the years is everybody raises their hand. Everybody. So I go around the room and I ask, okay, can you, talk a bit more about your anxiety? So I hear things like, oh, there's math involved. Oh, I'm not comfortable with a computer. Oh, I'm new to 3D. That's the kind of thing that I hear. By the way, I asked the same thing on the last day of class, who's still feeling anxious about this topic, and nobody raises their hands. So what I've learned, as I wrote here, is taught to me by College Autism Spectrum, who I'm now working with, is that anxiety, the opposite of anxiety isn't calm, it's trust. So we talk about that. We talk about that on the first day. And I ask them, the students, do you trust, I mean, yes, do you trust me? But also, and more importantly, do you trust you? Do you trust yourselves? Do you trust that you can handle this? I trust you. Do you trust yourself that you can do this? So it's led to very interesting conversations. And in some cases, I can then feel a vast reduction in the amount of anxiety that I see on the first day. In addition, the numerous academic struggles I observe many of my ODAS registered students to experience weren't really improved significantly by working with the TAs. In some cases, it's merely a Band-Aid. There have also been numerous behavioral issues in the classroom, unfortunately, with no support for the instructor by way of educating us on how to guide and engage these students. There's certainly no one solution to this complex situation. However, I am seeing a small number of success stories due to being a part of Woodbury's Agency for Civic Engagement program. This is an initiative, and this is my favorite part of working at the university. It's an initiative that empowers students, faculty, and staff to work toward improving underserved communities through creative projects and other initiatives. My intro to 3D animation class has proudly partnered with different organizations over the years, including Jóvenes Inc. They're an organization who supports unhoused college youth. We've also worked with our own on-campus food bank called Food for Thought. But this semester, for the first time, we partnered with two organizations simultaneously. One is the LA Food Bank, a very large food bank in the city. But to me, more significantly, we partnered with College Autism Spectrum, who I'm continuing to work with and who has helped me significantly. I noticed, I saw possibly for the first time since enrolling in the Civic Engagement program 6 years ago, a marked improvement in student confidence and interest in taking their learning outcomes more to heart. Where did my interest in partnering with College Autism Spectrum come from? In my so-called spare time, I volunteer in outpatient oncology at a major hospital. Having lost many family members to cancer, this weekly activity has become exceedingly meaningful to me and reminds me to pay it forward. It has helped me to a certain degree heal and cope with the losses I have suffered. Could producing animated PSAs for College Autism Spectrum help my 40% heal and cope too? So I'd like to show you some examples here. 1 second, and I will get the Vimeo up and running. 1 sec here. So I'll show you some examples of animatics and then some CG animation here.
A home and family for those without. Savannah's help youth end their cycle of homelessness. A home and family for those without. Holiness Inc. helps youth end their cycle of homelessness.
Okay, and I'll just show you a couple more. Notice that the character design is kept very simple on purpose. Of course, no facial expressions. That's a character rig that students do from scratch, step by step from scratch. So so we keep it simple on purpose. All right, I'll show you a couple more from the college autism spectrum that we did.
All right.
Hey, I'm nervous about graduating. I'm afraid I won't be prepared for college.
I have something that helped me. I have a resource that's really helpful for neurodivergents like us. Sometimes learning can look different for neurodivergent students. Students can often feel stressed or like they're running out of time, or like there's way too many obstacles in your way. College can often seem like a whole new world sometimes, but that doesn't mean college is the right space for you. Go to College Autism Spectrum to find out how the college experience can work for you. Sometimes learning can look different for neurodivergent students. Students can often feel stressed or like they're running out of time, or like there's way too many obstacles in your way. College can often seem like a whole new world sometimes, but that doesn't mean college is the right space for you. Go to College Autism Spectrum to find out how the college experience can work for you.
So here's the other thing that has, the other significant thing that is happening. Let me just get the slide back here. Because of partnering with College Autism Spectrum on this project, I am gaining a better understanding of what it means for a university to truly support neurodiverse students. Of course, I honor the accommodations students get from ODAS. However, I'm seeing that in many cases, it's just another form of Band-Aid and doesn't serve anybody. In many cases, I think the system is broken. On their website, College Autism Spectrum talks to parents of college-bound ODAS students about ways of building resilience, including not accommodating every need, teaching problem solving, modeling resiliency, and avoiding eliminating all risk. I also wanted to share with you this chart on the left, which came from them. This is the first time any of us at my school had ever heard of this. It's showing the differences between high school level accommodations and university level accommodations. So IDEA, as you can see here, it stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and it pertains to people who are from age 3 to the end of high school graduation. You can see here the responsibility falls on the parent and the school to make sure that the student, gets through the curriculum and graduates. They can change curricula according to the student's needs. The student is guaranteed success. The student is guaranteed to graduate. However, when somebody gets to the university, to the college level, the laws change. It becomes under the ADA. It now becomes the student's responsibility. The parent is no longer involved. There is no guarantee that the student can graduate. There's no guarantee that just because somebody pays tuition that, that they make it through the course. So that was fascinating to all of us at Woodbury University, who had never been aware of this. In terms of improving campus culture for neurodiverse students, I've only just begun learning ways in which we can improve from a colleague of Dr. Jane Brown's, Amy Rutherford. She works for the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and runs the Mosaic Disability Resource Center. I'm learning a great deal from both of these experts, and I'm currently working with them to present, hopefully, a larger presentation for this summer's SIGGRAPH in December. So we'll be developing this topic more. As long as my school supports putting time and money into improving the support system for our growing neurodiverse population, we can make dramatic improvements for our entire campus community. But in my opinion, we must stop relying on the current broken system. Just a quick shout out to Dr. Joyce Swan, colleague of mine who's chair of psychology at my school, and Dr. Jane Brown and Amy Rutherford at College Autism Spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, all right. People in the audience, do you have any questions? You can type into the chat or the question answer area. And Melody, can I ask a few questions?
Sure. Hello, Miho.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Well, thank you for the video. That was great. And so those projects are, I understand they're group projects, right? Students get together and run those the project.
Yes, that's exactly. So we at UNSW, I participate this program called Student as Partners. So that's I've been kind of as a pilot. I've been running the program for courses, and for this one is about a work integrated learning kind of program, so that students could join a professional project to practice their hard skills and also to learn and gain some soft skills. And in this case, in 2022, where during COVID, student partners and teachers start to join to collaborate on this. It was called Constellate. Even the name, the concept came up by a discussion with students, and students, we brainstorm what's the name and what's the how to visualize the idea and what's the theme. And so then in 2023, because of the success of the 2022 Constellate Student Showcase, and so that more student partners joined the collaboration and more teachers joined the collaboration. So the festival became an annual festival for community building. And the festival is also growing for building connections for students, for teachers, and also for building connection with the wider community.
Yeah, that's great. And so for students joining those the project, does it count as a class, or do they get like internship credits, or how that work from their point of view in terms of, how they count toward their degree?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in 2022, it was part of the course. There were about 2 to 3 student partners, so that it was a small, relatively small-ish sort of. So, for example, me as such as a mentor, but really I'm a collaborator with them. And so then each of them became producers, designers, and curators, being kind of taking leadership in this collaboration role. But in 2023, because the student partners, they actually quite a few, about 5 to 6 student partners actually put their hand up straight away without announcing this work integrated learning opportunity. So then in 2023, it was by like a volunteer based. So I'm still kind of navigating the best way and how to from a sustainable perspective, and whether so every year student would receive credit from the university as for example credit from student as partners program, and so to credit their contribution. In 2022 was part of the course. 2023 it was as a volunteer based, but in future I'm looking into a little bit more different way of credit students from the university level, such as on their transcript. So that we're also organizing students' society, so that it's kind of the recognition for them is actually building more and more. So it's work in progress. It's a little bit trial and error, because it's we came up with this idea of building this festival in 2022 to kind of, because at that time, social isolation, everyone learning online, it was very difficult and challenging for people to know each other and to build a sense of community of learning. So it came up, the festival came up through that challenge, and then eventually it turned into an annual event. So now we are looking into a bit more like a sustainable way to credit students. So maybe to summarize, students currently have credit from the university for taking students as partners in this project. And also I'm looking into in future to give them more credit from the university level.
Yeah, that'd be great. And you talked about like students taking roles, and did they like take up honors roles voluntarily, or did you assign roles based on like their strengths, or how that work?
Oh, that's a great question. In 2022, so we in 2022 during the collaboration, we had it's about 3 students collaborate, and so we had meetings and to discuss about what are the overall tasks, and based on the tasks, each of us start to talk about our interest area, and so based on each of our interests, and then we pick each of the area to assign to each person. It's kind of based on discussion, based on everyone's interest, and sometimes the interest might not be their strongest point, maybe at that time, but eventually by working on the project, and they will start to develop that part of the strengths. So it's not really about assign certain task based on somebody have done something in the past. Is actually based on their interests and where they want to learn. So that by working on the project, we are also open to have suggestions, feedback from each other, so that we can always grow and learn from each other while we're working on the project.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I have more questions. So it sounds like it's growing and more students now coming in. So when you have a lot of students, when you have few, you can like directly work with them more. But when you have a larger number of students, I think you would have more like issues or problems. And what are the things you do to make sure they are helping each other, collaboration going well? Like, are there some things you tell them, or how do you help the collaboration like going strong?
That's a great question again. For example, exactly as you said, the team is expanding and growing, so that when there are more students, collaborators, it can become a lot more challenging in terms of how we can all help and also everyone tie into one stream. So last year when we collaborate, there were about 13 students, collaborators. And so we also have 3 teachers, so that at the start, initially, it was the same as the previous year, which is we had a big group chat, which is based on our interests. So then we can, from a bigger group, we start to divide into 3 main areas. One, like about 3 to 5 students in a group, and there would be one teacher to collaborate with those 3 to 5 students in a particular area, such as visual development, another teacher leading this group, which is about curation, and another teacher leading this direction of visual communication, such as marketing and how we communicate and let everybody know about this festival, social media, etc. So that in each of the group, each of the teacher would be able to give them feedback and also have regular meetings with them to see if they have any questions, challenges. The teacher is always there to help. And at the same time, that during this regular meeting with the teachers, they can also learn from each other by showing what's like what they're up to. We also have like in terms of the progress, we kind of run three in parallel, 3 groups in parallel. But at the same time, we also have like the general meetings, so that anyone from any group have any questions, so that we're always welcome to discuss and share our progress, so that it's sort of like to divide the group into 3 departments, but each department run in parallel. But it doesn't mean that only those department people talk to each other. Is actually they work with each other in individual groups, but they also sharing and talking to everyone in terms of the entire team.
Okay, so you have like different meetings. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So we, because students and teachers, I guess this is the same to everyone, have a lot of duties and pretty busy schedule. So we actually have, we run online platforms, such as we work with teams, so that we have regular meetings, but because we realize everyone is the schedule is so busy, so that we actually utilize on Teams, so that anyone asks questions can pop into certain areas of Teams and for questions, and people can also share in their stuff onto the, like, so we would divide the teams into the 3 different departments and the general area and general question area. So then people can post their progress there, so that everyone can see other people's work by collaborating on this Teams platform. That sometime without meeting, we can immediately communicate on certain issues that we need to get that's going. So that meeting, we try not to add too many meetings for everyone, because not to overload everyone. Like sometimes they already have lots of things going on, so that we try to reduce meetings, and by collaborating on the such as Teams chat and also posting messages and images, video onto the Teams channel. So that's a way for everyone to see everybody's progress, and also that can be an immediate way to respond and collect feedback.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you. Just realized I've been just asking a lot of questions. Judy, do you have questions for Melody or the comments? Um,
It, I think I want to take a page from you or a note from you in terms of improving more group type projects at my school and my department. That was my main takeaway, from what you were saying. We have some, but I think we could still, build them out.
I have so much to learn from you and also the project that you work on as well. And I have a lot to take notes and learn as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Melody. And maybe I have more questions later. And I like to talk to you, Judy. And there's a question posted in a web chat, a webinar chat for you. Yeah, do you see it? Yeah. Did they
Yes.
receive any guidance from campus experts to discuss about these topics and feedback provided through their production process? This is from, sorry, Nandi. I hope I'm saying the name right. Nandini.
Thank you, Nandini. So how we do it is the client comes to campus first. So we had LA in this case, last semester we had LA Food Bank came because they're local. They came to our class, talked to the students, talked to all of us about their mission, basically who they serve, and the kind of PSA they would be looking for. They're a very large organization and they're all over the city of LA. So they've got lots of media, content already. But the fact that they wanted to partner with students was really gratifying to me. Was a great thing. So they came and we had sort of a Q&A session with them. College Autism Spectrum is in Connecticut, so we Zoomed with them, and they did a similar thing. They talked about the students they serve, the kinds of issues that come up. They basically meet with parents of college-bound ODAS students and talk about how to look for a college that's appropriate for your child. What sorts of things what sorts of services are you looking for? And then they also talked about the kind of PSA that they'd like to see. And then so we, after that session, then the students pitched their ideas, and I helped them kind of rein in the stories so it doesn't take 300 people to produce a short CG animated PSA. And then they pitch the animatics, and then the clients come to the finals, so either in person or virtually, and they give feedback to the students. So that's been immensely helpful for students to have a client, so they see, I mean, and that's what I saw, especially this last semester with College Autism Spectrum, is they really took that very seriously, who they were producing their work for. So I've seen, occasionally you get very excellent, high production values in the work, but I thought in particular last semester it went exceedingly well. And I thought it was because of the feedback that in particular College Autism Spectrum was giving to them. So it was a very meaningful experience.
So there's animation, the animatic projects or like a pitches. Are they group projects or individual students do like some of the initial part individually and a pitch, or can you tell us more about those projects in the class?
Sure. So yes, for this particular project, they can be either. But I would say most people chose to do them on their own. There were, I'd say, 4 or 5 pairs of students who worked on them. I have found, I'm sure others can relate to this, other educators can relate to this. If I make the group too large, it ends up that, one person does the bulk of the work. and some others don't. So I have made it so that you can pair up with one other person if they want to. And that's worked out, that has usually worked out well. Sometimes even that has been a struggle, but I think it's improved the outcomes in general. Though I have to say, this time, same thing happened. A pair, was set to work together, and I only found out, 3 minutes before the presentation, and the client is there on Zoom, that one of the pair didn't do anything. So that was a bit of a disaster in the making right there. But that was the lesson learned by the student who didn't pull their weight. So lots of lessons to be learned.
So that 3D rendering, they were individual students' work too?
Yes, we use a cloud-based render farm. Also causes a bit of stress, but by the time the end of the semester rolls around, actually they're pretty good at it. So we sort of do a trial run earlier in the semester, but the end it's worked out pretty well in general. And I'm very proud of them. They got the hang of using a real live render farm.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Students did those works by themselves, or like very small group, like 2 people.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Again, contributing to the stress level, but something, it just happened. Especially this last semester, it worked out really well. I think I saw, for example, I was talking about anxiety earlier. A couple of cases where by the end of the semester, those particular students, the stress level was greatly reduced, that they gained confidence in themselves. They saw, yes, I can really do this thing that I had been so frightened of. So that was very gratifying to see. And I'm very grateful to be working with this organization who, like I was saying, is teaching me a lot. It's, we have no training in this, no nothing. We're just kind of thrown in there. And this has been the first time in my many years of teaching that I have felt supported to be able to do this a little differently in the classroom.
Yeah, that's very important for all schools. So for what bigger educators community, if we want to learn more about it, are there resources getting help, or do you recommend reaching out to the people in our own institutions, or maybe both, of course, but what do you recommend for the educators everywhere?
That's a great question. Sorry, siren going by. Both. We're a very small school, so we have extremely limited resources. At this point, we have one person in our ODAS office who is basically handing out accommodations, and that is what we have. So it has felt extremely challenging at times for faculty to know what to do when you have, behavioral problems in the classroom. I've had students who are crying in my class. I've had students holding their head in their hands in the class. I'm seeing, and I don't think, I mean, this was before COVID too. So, I think you have to reach out to the resources you have at your school, but also, at least in our case, we need outside help. We cannot do this on our own. So if, for example, you went to College Autism Spectrum's website, you'll see they have a ton of info on their website. They've got videos on there. They've got, recommended books to read. But to me, and to actually my colleagues at my school, they did a presentation for us last year. When they showed us that slide, that show the differences between high school level and university level accommodations, that changed everything. That changed my understanding of what we are experiencing, you know, because students come to university expecting, and their parents expecting the same kinds of accommodations that they got in high school, but it's a whole different ball game. So the more I think the parents are educated about this, the better for everybody. And the better we can support the students. And in some cases, as I'm learning, the support is to slow down the pace. I don't mean the pace of the class. We still have to move the program forward and meet the learning outcomes. I mean, slow down the number of classes that a student takes in one semester. That to me I'm seeing a marked improvement for many of my students just by doing that, assuming financial aid isn't an issue. But that to me is working better than having TAs. The TAs, it doesn't mean the student learns anything necessarily by having somebody sort of watch them more. So lots of different attempts at trying to make this better.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about those resources you mentioned in college autism spectrum, and I'm sure there are like resources for more like other types of neurodiversity too. So I'm very interested in that subject. And do you check in with students during the semester about like anxiety and how they're doing too?
You know, I tend to do that actually at the beginning of every class. So sometimes to better, sometimes it works better than at other times. But I like to do that, yes, especially if I see a student is sort of presenting, you know, where things are not going so well. I offer to meet with them. I offer to talk with them. You know what? I used to have, this may sound a little odd, but I used to have a loose leaf tea bar in my office. And when I would see students who were particularly stressed out, hey, why don't you come stop by, get a cup of tea, kind of thing. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, I know students are extremely busy, and you know, I think it's sort of I'm learning. It's kind of a case by case basis is what I'm learning.
Oh, there's a question from Glenn. How do you deal with parents who are not satisfied with the level of accommodation you can provide? You provide. What do you tell them?
That's a great question. You know, I tell them the truth is what I tell them. In fact, when I had a student last year, the student I was describing, who sat in my class like this with her head in her hands. So I met with the student and her mom in my office, and I told them the truth. I tell them this is what we have here. And the parent said to me, I'm the only one who tells her the truth. So, you know, sometimes when we get applicants, you know, when we have portfolio days, so I meet a lot of parents, and I asked, it's a long story, but I asked a parent of a prospective student, so what kind of services are you looking for in a university? So she listed, I don't actually even remember the specifics, but she listed this thing and that thing and this thing and that. And I said, we don't have those things. We have a person who hands out accommodations. And I feel like the more essential part of my job almost is educating the parents, is managing their expectations. I think a lot of the parents come to this, you know, having struggled, you know, the entire time of their child going through high school. I feel like they come to university with unrealistic expectations. So the parents need to do the research and look at what the college, what the campus offers. So, you know, as I was saying in my presentation, I'm only just learning what it looks like when a university truly supports neurodiverse students. So I'm looking, and again, I'm, you know, still learning from this organization about what kinds of things can be offered at different campuses. My campus doesn't yet, at least, have that. I wish we did, but at the moment, we hand out accommodations.
Okay. Oh, Cheryl, like, do you want to turn on a microphone and talk?
Sure. Sure. I love this conversation because most of the accommodations that my students need is extra time. So I've had some conversations with some of the former students that are working out in the industry to find out what kind of accommodations the studios are providing for neurodiverse employees. And time is not one of them because deadlines are deadlines, you know. So having that direct conversation with the students to let them know, like, I can give you some more time, but this is what you need to do because you're going to eventually want to be an employee. You need to learn to finish things within the allotted given time. So have you talked to any studios or potential employees of your students or former students to have that discussion?
Haven't, this is a great point. I haven't talked to studios about that, but students ask us all the time, what kinds of accommodations can I expect when I get out there and I'm working at a studio? And we say, none. It's a deadline-oriented industry. So we went through this thing at my school where the former ODAS manager was giving sort of till the end of time accommodations. You can hand this in whenever you like, sort of thing. And we who teach animation are saying, no, this doesn't work. It's setting the student up actually for disaster. So we've changed it, the language in the accommodation, to say the window of time is between 24 and 48 hours. So I think that's another thing, that sort of a shift in the culture at our school, with such a large population of neurodiverse students, is teaching them early on. Studios don't. It's deadline oriented. So to me, the sooner a student understands that, the better. You know, we can only do so much. So I know not the
exactly.
answer.
No, it's true. I'm just curious to know. I mean, I do know, like, for example, that one of the major studios in the US will provide a closed door office if someone has problems with distractions, because having them inside of a room where there's no distractions helps them get their work done. So they will do that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, you know, so students understand that. And that's something that I've been doing too, you know, just having that frank conversation with them, not in front of the whole class, obviously.
Yeah.
I asked them to come see me in my office so we could talk about it. But so far the students are, you know, kind of shocked about that, but then they start really working towards, you know, other accommodations that they can do for themselves to keep themselves on task and to get things done in a timely manner. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
this is a really important, a great topic. Just thinking maybe we should do a session about this, the DEI committee and you know, the ACM SIGGRAPH education committee at the conferences.
I'll just interrupt for a moment. I think that's probably a good idea. You know, I certainly when I was a director of our school, I made sure that I taught all freshmen, among other things, so I got to know them. And yes, there's an incredible disconnect between what people were getting in high school and what they get in college, we're a public university, so we are obligated to provide certain services, and I do get some flack. One of the problems is time on a final exam. I explain to them it's real time, and I just can't change. We'll give them some other accommodations, but that I don't do. So because I tell them they're not going to get them that in the job. I should also say that those are not the only types of accommodations or problems we see. I mean, my own son had accommodations in high school, and though he has certain physical issues. And we struggled. He's not in this industry at all. We struggled significantly in college. We have to teach them that and we have to tell the students that they're now adults and they have to be advocate for themselves, and they have to make decisions, and we'll present options and opportunities and tell you what the ramifications are. And we can be sympathetic, but there are limits to what we can do and what we should do. I get into arguments more with our own disability office than I do with the students. I find that when I explain to the students, they're much more understanding than some of the people who are tasked with providing these accommodations, who seem to just work from a checklist at times. And we too well, we're understaffed in everything, actually, but also in this area. So I do think, Miho, that it is a discussion. I would like to broaden it to talk about disabilities and accommodations in general. I'm not sure what we should do, and I think we have a meeting in a couple of weeks or a week and a half that's not a bad idea to bring up and see if there's something that we should do. And I know there are a lot of people out there. We've tended to lose some audience as the day has gone by, but I think this is something that we could also open up to the larger educator community at SIGGRAPH. I think it's more than DEI, and DEI's got it's got a lot of baggage with it these days. This is something just how do you deal with people with disabilities who need accommodation? I think we need to deal with that at the industry, and we certainly need to deal with that in educators. And there are different ways, and not to leave out Melody, but she was obviously dealing with issues as well in terms of how people are working together. So I may call on the two of you to participate in some of our discussions at some point in the future. It may be really hard with Melody. It might be in the middle of your night. I don't know. But we'll figure that out. But it is important, and we have to figure out a way to deal with it. And so I thank you both for bringing it up. And Miho, I just wanted to. This was too much for me to type in the chat box. My wrist would break. So it's a really good idea, and there's a lot for us to think about. So now I'll be quiet. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we have to wrap up, right, Nick? So we can keep talking in the chat. Yeah. Yeah.
And I definitely want to echo Glenn that Miho, you and Cheryl did a fantastic job with this session. Of course, Judy and Melody, great presentations. I think we have to give Melody some extra bonus points for waking up super early in the morning. You're in near Sydney, Australia, is that right?
Yes, I am.
So what time is it for you right now?
It's about to go to 9 o'clock.
Okay, so first thing in the morning, and is it Saturday for you rather than Friday?
Yeah.
So extraordinary dedication. So thank you so much for joining us.
I want to say this is the first. So I spoke with a lot of people. Well, not a lot, but I spoke with a number of people in Sydney and at SIGGRAPH Asia. So I want to thank Melody for being the one who actually showed up and participated. Others will participate in more asynchronous events and activities we have, but Melody actually showed up for something that is synchronous on time. I think it took me 2 weeks in Australia to figure out what the time difference really was. I never could quite get a handle of it. But so I'm grateful for that, and been with the education committee on and off for probably over 15 years. And I have to say, this is the first time we've ever had anyone participate live in anything with us from Australia. So you now have a place in our history. So
I think, Glenn, you take the world champion prize literally in maximizing time zone diversity, equity, and inclusion, because this opened up with participants from Europe, and we worked our way around the Earth as the Earth was spinning, and managed to get folks from the other side of the whole planet. So
and
that's
our
pretty.
European colleagues are still here, even though it's now, what is it, 11 o'clock at night or something for some of them, I think. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and again,
I should have said, like, thanks you to them as well.
yeah, and it speaks to the importance of the work that the contributors here have been doing. I think you're all right on track with the idea of making some type of focus, for us in this area, and working with folks that are, there's a lot of us. I have neurodivergencies, and there, I think, I noticed in the chat as the discussion was going that there were a few mentions of like, oh, in my program, we get a higher than average, we draw a lot of interest from students with neurodiversive traits. And I think that is something that I think our disciplines attract. I think that our disciplines combine technical with artistic areas of uses. And I don't know, you can see my neurodiversity spilling out all over the place right now. But I think that what we're doing is also incredibly enabling. I have some students that are on various spectrums, and they're excited about the opportunity to be able to improve the experience that folks that they're collaborating with, being able to, the opportunities that these technologies that our areas of expertise can bring. So I think it's really important and exciting, and definitely worth quite a bit of attention.
I think if you talk to elementary school teachers, you will find that over the last 10 years, the number has just increased. So what you're seeing is we notice it in design because that's where we are. But I think if you talk to people, it is a combination of the development of society, how that we now have people with more people with more and different issues, and also we are more open to and willing to and able to recognize the differences. Sometimes people with those differences existed before, and certainly I know when I was in elementary school, they were just labeled as stupid or worse, stupid and or lazy or something else, and they were taunted, and people were not given the opportunity to actually to prove that what they could do. It's no different with, you brought up the ADA. As an architect, I am, buried in ADA issues on every single project. And it's, there's no reason why we can't accommodate. And now there are a couple of times we are, and the biggest problem we have, especially in New York, is accommodation is the battle between ADA and preservation of existing cultural history and architectural history. But there is a way, and I think I want to thank Mio for even suggesting that this is something we should bring up, and I think there is, well, we'll talk about it in our next meeting, what options we have, and maybe it has to maybe it becomes a session in the conference. I don't know, but I'm asking you all to think about what it is we can do and options. And it is a discussion. I don't want to hijack this, but it is important. And actually, it's probably a good lead-in to the conferences, because that's a place where some of this can come up. So I'll shut up now.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to set everyone here. I'll pause the recording. Thank you for a fantastic session.